With growing health consciousness and thanks to advancements in medical facilities, it is quite possible that many of us will go on to live into our 80s, 90s, and perhaps even beyond 100. But with that growing lifespan also comes the challenge of whether we will have a large enough corpus that will allow us to live a life free of financial worries during that prolonged phase of retirement. On the occasion of the launch of Union Asset Management Company's retirement fund, G. Pradeepkumar, Chief Executive Officer of the Fund House, shared with Business Standard a few handy tips on how we can go about winning our financial independence so that retirement is something that we look forward to with anticipation rather than with dread. Do watch this interview to learn more. Good afternoon, sir, and welcome to our show.
Good afternoon, Sanjay. Thank you for having me.
So our goal for this interview will be to acquaint our viewers with some strategies they can adopt to make the task of retirement planning easier for themselves. We'll talk about some of the challenges, and then we'll go on to talk about the retirement fund that you have launched. My first question to you is, what are some of the key challenges that people face when trying to save money for their retirement corpus?
Well, Sanjay, mostly what happens is people either, mostly they start late, too late to think about retirement. While everybody knows that it's better if you plan early, but the problem is when you're young, very few people think about retirement and there are other priorities in life, or you don't have enough money to save, all these factors coming. And by the time people are, they're taken care of other priorities and they get down to retirement, what happens is that then they realize that, the time is a little short. So if you start thinking about retirement only when you're in your 50s, it's possible that, some people at least would think that, oh my God, I don't have enough time to allow my money to grow. So these are some of the challenges. And then again, there is a big issue, assuming that, you decide and you start thinking about it at the right time, early enough. Then the challenge is, what do you really do? How do you really plan for retirement? And what exactly is retirement, right? When do you think your retirement will start in the traditional sense? And how long you should plan it for, right? The life expectancy in our country has gone up significantly and it's continuing to increase. So it is not unusual for people to live into their 80s and 90s these days. And your money should last until then. So all these things have made retirement planning a little more complex than what it used to be traditionally.
So there is the challenge of growing lifespan. There is high inflation. And I think even medical inflation is a big challenge for the elderly.
Absolutely. Cost of medical treatment and particularly in the old age, it goes up even more. So and how do you really plan? The choosing the correct route or the most efficient way to plan for your retirement is another challenge.
So even the gig economy is growing bigger. Does that pose a challenge for retirement planning? The fact that a lot of people today prefer to work.
I don't say it's a challenge, but it brings in another dimension into retirement planning. Sanjay, if you remember, the traditional way of looking at retirement is you're a salaried person, your job will be there until you are whatever, 55, 58, 60, etc. And then you retire. And then you think about what to do next, how to survive, how to meet your financial needs, etc. That model is changing quite rapidly, I would say. And the gig economy has contributed significantly to that. So people who are into gig economy, they are not really thinking about a particular age. They are definitely not thinking about 55 and 60 from a retirement perspective, right? And which is why we started talking about the concept of Newman, which we'll talk a little later during this conversation. So people who are into gig economy, for them there are other challenges. One is that they don't really have a steady income. In that sense, they are not people who get a regular paycheck at the end of every month, and they don't really have a defined career life either, right? They have income which could be fluctuating, and retirement is not retirement the way we have traditionally assumed. And people who are into that kind of profession, they may continue to do that well beyond the normal retirement age of 55 and 60. If they are physically fit and if they continue to enjoy it, there is really no need for them to stop. So their retirement could be very different from the retirement planning for somebody who is in a salaried government job, for example.
But the salaried people have the advantage of structured savings, say through EPF. The fact that your
Yes,
salary, a portion of your salary gets automatically deducted and saved for your retirement, that is a big blessing, I suppose. So
that's true.
people in the gig economy also need to adopt some method of automated savings the way salaried people enjoy.
Absolutely. Of course, on the one side, our belief is that the compulsory savings of the salaried people are not really adequate to provide for a comfortable retired life, and for you to maintain the same standard of living that you are used to. Now, in the gig economy, it is even different. Okay, so they need to do the entire retirement planning on their own, meaning with the help of an advisor, of course. But there is no establishment which is going to really support them. So they will need to look at various options like an LPS, public provident fund, and stuff like that. Apart from, of course, mutual funds. So there are different challenges for the person in the gig economy.
And only today there was a report saying that EPFO is going to suggest that the the retirement age of people in salaried jobs be raised. What do you think of this proposal?
Personally, I'm of the view that with increase in life expectancy, with increase in medical care, and overall increase in the fitness of people, there is a very strong case for increasing the retirement age. See, there are still establishments and governments where the retirement age is say 56. Today, I think there is really no justification to force a person to stop working at the age of 56. It's just a number. And we know a number of people in public life who are doing excellent work, even into their 80s. So I think, there is a strong case for increasing the retirement age from the earlier level of, say, 56, 58, or even 60. Because people are now capable of working both mentally and physically.
Let us talk about the concept of renewment. Is this a popular term, or is this something that Union AMC has coined?
Well, I would tend to believe that we coined this term. At least we haven't come across this earlier. So I'll tell you the origin, how we started talking about it. Because when we were talking about our retirement fund, our thought was not just about a fund. Let us have a wider view and a wider conversation about the concept of retirement itself. What do people mean by retirement? So the traditional view, as I mentioned earlier, is like you are in a job at a certain age, whether you like it or not, you have to stop working, and then you need to find sufficient income to take care of yourself, or you have to depend on your children, whatever. But that concept traditionally has given a negative connotation to retirement. It is like, the good part of your life is over. and now you have a painful part coming, and you need to worry about how to survive that period. It's about really surviving. We came up with the thought that it need not be like that, and particularly in today's age, it definitely should not be like that. Because what happens is, while you may be doing a certain type of job currently, everybody has different passions, right? And it's about being able to continue to do what you like to do. It's not that you don't like the job that you're doing today. Of course, many people like and enjoy the job they're doing, but everybody may like to have a second innings, like pursue your passion, do something that you really enjoy, but not just for the sake of money. Which means that if you manage to achieve a certain level of financial independence and financial freedom, then you renew yourself, then you pursue your passion, you really do what you enjoy doing without caring about how much money you make out of it. So the whole thought was that retirement need not be, should not be something that you dread and becomes a boring and difficult phase of your life. Look at it as a continuation of a journey, but of your journey of your life. But can you make it a more exciting and more meaningful part of your life? And we strongly believe that if you achieve sufficient level of financial independence, it is possible for pretty much most people to renew themselves and get into a different phase of their life. So that is the whole thought process behind coming up with this term of renewment. You renew yourself, you renew your life, and get into something which is more exciting than what you have been doing so far.
So
and which also means, sorry, yeah, which also means that it can happen at any age. Renewment doesn't have to wait for 56 or 58 or 60. For someone who starts planning early, right? It's possible that they can have that renewment at the age of 35, 40, 45. It's very much possible. You decide what is the level of independence you need, and then you can easily start your next phase. So there is no fixed retirement age, and there is no fixed renewment age. Renewment, you plan for renewment, which is something that you're really looking forward to, something which is more exciting than what you're currently doing.
So the basic thought is that try and win your financial independence as early as possible. So any advice, any tips on how to go about winning your financial independence, say for somebody around 28, 30, who has just perhaps been into a job for 3-4 years? Most people, as you said, don't think of retirement at that early age. What would your tip to such a young man be?
See, the first thing I would say is that every individual is different. Okay, so even for somebody who is at 28 and has started a job, situations could be different, and the solutions could be different for different people. And of course, the aspirations are different, right? Each person could be aspiring for a different level to be achieved. But having said that, what I would definitely recommend as a first step for most people is to get a good financial planner or an advisor for you, somebody who can guide you properly, right? This is not a minor matter. It's your hard-earned money. It's your life. We are talking about renewment, which is renewing your own life. So it is not something to be taken lightly. So you need to take it seriously, which means you need professional help. So that can be a mutual fund distributor. It can be a financial advisor, whatever you're comfortable with. But I would think that if you do that, if you set out what your goals are and what your risk profile and what your income levels are, I think the solution for each individual will come. It is quite easy to say that you start SIP in 5 different mutual funds, but I think the renewment is more than that. What we are talking about is not just about picking up 4 or 5 mutual fund schemes and doing SIP in them. That may be one part of it, but it goes beyond that. See, it is about, adjusting your plan at every stage of your life. When your income changes, when your job changes, when your, cash flows change, how do you change your plan? So it is a dynamic thing and it is unique to each individual. But the important thing is to understand that it is possible for every individual. The solution may be different, but there is a solution for every individual.
Very true. We tend to make the mistake of thinking that we can do financial planning ourselves, but really it is a very specialized skill, and these planners can help us stay on course. We'll now
Yes.
talk about your NFOs. What are the key features of a retirement plan which makes it, say, different from a normal mutual fund, a diversified equity fund, or a hybrid fund? How is it different?
Well, that's a question that lot of people ask. What is special about a retirement fund? Okay, can you not do this retirement planning with existing open-ended funds? By all means, yes. Okay, you don't really need a retirement fund to plan for retirement. Okay, however, what it does is retirement fund brings in certain level of discipline into your retirement plan, right? It comes with a 5-year lock-in, which means you stay invested for at least 5 years, which gives your money sufficient time to grow. And after that, once people see the results of their investment, most people are likely to stay on. And to create wealth, you need to stay invested in the market. You can't create wealth by watching the market and waiting for the right time. Now, I'll give you one interesting bit of data, Sanjay. According to Amphi data, only about 46% of the investors in equity mutual funds in India stay beyond 2 years. So while it's all fine to say that there are open-ended funds, we will invest in them and we will, do long-term planning, the reality is that very few people actually stay invested in the long term and gain the benefits of long-term investment. One of the common reasons for this is that people invest, and when the market is good, they are generally happy. But at the first sign of trouble, many people tend to run away, which is absolutely the wrong time. When the market is bad, is not the time when you sell and run away, right? But many people don't have that discipline or the maturity, and they end up getting out of the market at the wrong time, and they never come back and they don't get the benefit of long-term wealth creation, which is why certain level of discipline where you are forced to stay invested for 5 years, I think helps immensely in long-term wealth creation and in planning for retirement. We would definitely advocate investors and distributors that look at other funds also, not just retirement fund. Retirement fund can be the core of your portfolio, but our purpose of launching the retirement fund, apart from getting money into the NFO and planning for retirement, is also to have a wider conversation going about this whole concept of renewment. Remove the fear away from retirement. Can we make it something that people can look forward to with excitement and with positivity? And we hope that the Union Retirement Fund becomes a catalyst in that whole process. This is neither the beginning nor the end of the journey.
And I noticed that in your retirement fund, besides equity and debt, you will also have InvITs. Any thoughts on why you have included a third asset class?
So while we have included InvITs, it's not our intention to invest in them in the near future. It is an enabler. We would try to keep things simple. Okay, so in our retirement fund, we have only one option, which is the equity option. Again, it stems from our belief that from a long-term perspective, and for money which is going to stay invested for 5 years and more, we believe that equity is the best option to create wealth. Anything else we believe can be suboptimal, which is the reason we have opted for this structure.
I think I've finished with my questions. Would you like to add anything?
Well, like I said, we apart from launching the NFO, we would also be coming up with a series of measures, both digitally as well as through offline means, where we will try to educate people about how to look at renewment, how you can really plan for it, what it means, etc. For example, I mean, there can be somebody who is today a computer engineer whose real passion may be music, right? So we would like to, get people to think about how they can really reach a stage where they can pursue their passion without worrying about money. Everybody needs money, everybody likes money, but we are trying to take this conversation beyond money.
Very true. Very true. I believe only a small percentage of people would be approaching the age of, say, 60 or so with sufficient corpus that they can lead a comfortable life after this period. So it's very important to get this conversation on retirement going. Thank you so much, Mr. Kumar. It was a pleasure speaking to you. Goodbye.
Thank you, Sanjay. My pleasure.